It's Kristjan, one of the founders from Base Property Specialists here, and I'm back with this week's 3 hot picks from Zoopla. So if you are a buy-to-let investor landlord looking to either start or grow your London portfolio, here are 3 properties you should be taking a serious look at this week. So in our first category, up to 500,000, this one bed on the market with the Bow office of Keaton's really caught my eye. So it's located in Candy Wharf, a development and building I know well. We've handled flats here before. Super desirable. It's a really unique location. It's sort of sandwiched between Mile End Park, Mile End Sports Centre, which you can see in the photos there, and the canal. So unusually for London, you're not surrounded by buildings. You're typically surrounded by open space and a lot of green space as well. So very desirable. It's located on a dead-end access road, so you have no passing traffic. The apartment not only has a full-width private balcony, there is a huge communal roof terrace, there is underground car parking, it's got floor-to-ceiling windows. If we bang through some of these, huge windows, natural light flooding the place. Not much needs to be done. I mean, I would recommend probably modernising the light fittings and maybe introducing a little bit of colour into the palette. But otherwise, kitchens and bathrooms have really stood the test of time really well. This is the canal side of the building. It's got this spectacular landscaped communal roof terrace at the top, which I'm pretty sure has won awards. Very sleek, minimal kitchen. Pretty sure the development is also electric only from my recollection. Tenants have video entry phone for downstairs, obviously fob entry into the building, and as I mentioned earlier, secure underground car parking. Bedroom has built-in wardrobes. The flooring in here has been replaced. I think the flat has also been repainted, so it is pretty much good to go. Like I said, I would be tempted to bring a little bit of character in with a bit of colour, and also to get that top rent, do be prepared for the fact you might need to furnish it. But otherwise, I think you should be looking at somewhere in the region of £1,750 to £1,900 a month for this one. Few things to look out for. Guide price £375,000. The lease is good, 109 years left on the lease, so plenty of time, nearly 30 years until your mortgage company gets twitchy. Service charges though, with a building like this, with the roof terrace, with the car park, etc., come in just shy of £3,900 a year. So I would normally expect an average one bed in an apartment block to come in at around 2.5ish. So you're looking at about an extra £1,000 to £1,500, but you're getting a lot of bang for your buck for that money. If you do rent this out to tenants, I would always advise providing the head lease permits, offering the parking as an extra surcharge. That way, if your tenant really wants the parking, typically you might squeeze a bit more rent. If they don't need the parking, it potentially frees you up to let that, subject to what the head lease conditions are. Now, sometimes that will restrict you to only letting it to people within the development, and that might cap your value. Otherwise, if there isn't a limit on that, you can probably achieve somewhere in the region of, I would say, typically about £150 a month for a parking space in a location like that, which again, if you're achieving sort of £1,850, that brings you in at around £2,000 a month. Very nice return on a flat that you picked up for £375,000. So if you like the look of that one, do get in touch with Keaton's, get a viewing booked in there as soon as possible. So our second property that we're looking at in our 500 750k price bracket is this 3-bed period maisonette up for auction with McHugh & Co. Now, big caveat with auctions, the guide price of £550 could have no correlation to the final agreed price, so do bear that in mind. However, an interesting one, amazing location just off the back of what we call Victoria Park Village, right next door to Victoria Park, surprisingly. Very, very desirable place to live. There's quite a lot of high income people and families live in this neighbourhood. So I think there is a lot to say for going for a refurbishment of this property. I'll scroll through the photos in a minute. You'll see it is very dated, very tired. So you are going to need to be willing to throw some money at this one. It is the ground and lower ground floor with a huge private garden to the rear. You also have the front garden. So I would argue if you were to buy this property, I would literally upgrade everything from the front, making this front garden and wall much prettier, high end, bringing all the period features kind of back to full restoration, and then a major refurb the inside of the property to create a really stunning high spec 3-bedroom property. So if we quickly scroll through, what sort of things you expect: high ceilings, period features, bay windows. You've got the original wooden shutters in there. If you're really lucky, there might be an original period fireplace behind there. Separate kitchen diner, big bedrooms with loads of built-in storage to be ripped out and replaced with modern equivalents. But it looks like you've got 3 proper double bedrooms in there, a big bathroom, it's a kitchen diner, and this huge private garden to the rear, which is screaming out to have a lot more done to it, to make that a lot more appealing. There is even the argument of, could you do a extension to the rear, creating more living space? I would argue, even as a owner-occupied home, I don't know whether you need a garden that big in London, particularly when you're around the corner from Vicky Park. I'd probably take a third of that if I could, to extend the property, do some beautiful minimalist glass extension to the rear, and then landscape that to make it a low maintenance, high usage garden space that can be made the use of the whole year round. But yeah, lots going for it. I think realistically, conservatively, you do that to an all right standard, you should be looking around 3.5 to 4k a month. But there is money to burn in this neighbourhood. So if you did a beautiful interior, I don't see any reason why there would really be any limit on your potential earnings on there. You also get the freehold for the whole property. There is a self-contained flat on the first floor, with its own lease, paying £200 a year in ground rent. But by being the freeholder, there is also the potential scope to do short let accommodation in here. Again, with the location, there's often big events that happen in Victoria Park, so you can often rent this accommodation out if it's done to a really high end to artists and performers who perform at gigs. So yeah, there's a lot of business scope on this one, a little bit outside of the box of what we typically look at, but you can't beat a period property in a fantastic location. So get on to McHugh, find out if they're doing open days, or whether there's a way you can get access to have a physical inspection of the property. But otherwise, make sure you put the auction date in your diary, Tuesday the 23rd of May. This one is lot 9. Don't be afraid to reach out and see if the owners, Mountain View Estates PLC, are open to bids prior to the auction. Some lots do get sold before the auction even takes place. So if you really love what you see, and I do think this is a really exciting opportunity, this one, that's the one where you want to try and be getting in there. And so last but not least, in our final price bracket of £750,000 to £1 million, this 3-bedroom property on the market with Rob and Jackson, their Lewisham office, in Surrey Quays, really caught my eye. Not a dissimilar opportunity to our previous property. 3 bedrooms, needs modernisation, in a good location, very different location to before. Surrey Quays or other high areas become very, very popular to live, close to the river, good social amenities, good transport links. This is quite uniquely in a gated development, so would appeal to families renting around the area. Nice, safe place for kids. You've got off-street parking, you've got a private courtyard garden. Like I said, this one does need refurbishment. It is another project property. I don't think it's as big a project as the one in Victoria Park, but definitely at the very least a cosmetic fit out, ripping everything out and putting in modern kitchens and bathrooms, floor coverings, walls. I would definitely chuck some money at transforming what looks like a rather sad courtyard garden, patio garden, into something that could be quite beautiful. But all the rooms look well proportioned. You know, like you've got 3 proper doubles, 2 bathrooms in here. Like I said, gated, off street, nice and safe. Good schools within the area. The property's freehold, so you're not worrying about leases and ground rent and service charges. yeah, I mean, that is available straight away. I see no reason why done up you shouldn't be looking at about £4,000 a month in rental income. I think in this market you're going to struggle to get past that figure no matter how nice a job you do. So do just keep that figure in mind. If you do want to offer on this, factor in how much you're going to be spending, how you're going to achieve that, and how you're going to justify your 4K price, but don't get too carried away. But I don't think this property is going to stick around for long, so pick up the phone, contact Robin Jackson today, get those viewings booked in and get your offers in. So that is this week's 3 properties to choose from. If you do go and view, offer, or indeed buy any of the properties we have suggested on here, do let us know, do get in touch. We'd love to hear about your journey and how you get on. Otherwise, if none of these are quite right for you, tune in next week and we'll be back with 3 more. But until then, thanks for tuning in.